My name is Jesse Daly, and this is a review of the TriplePoint Outdoors Clovis Broadhead. Used a lot of broadheads in my day. Have some of them shown here. A lot of reasons I don't use some of them. This one, for example, was one I used to use on a crossbow. Not super durable. End up bending up a lot of stuff. I then switched to this one. Used this on my longbow compound for multiple years. This one super durable, but found it very difficult to get it to fly straight. It's easy to resharpen, easy to reuse, but ended up looking like a 2 to 7 curveball sometimes when I would shoot, and a lot of times I'd have an arrow headed straight for a deer, and then all of a sudden it would flail out and dive. So passed up that one. Had this one, used it on my crossbow for probably 20 years. Never really had any complaints with it, but I think the Clovis is far superior to this for a couple reasons, what I'll talk about in a minute. Probably killed more deer with this one than anything else. A lot of good things about it. It flies better than most mechanicals. A lot of bad things about it. Not the least of which is that little plastic collar. Became really, really frustrating. The other thing that became really frustrating to me is trying to shoot this without the blades flying out in every different direction. It's great when it worked. When it didn't work, really not great. And this is where I'm at right now. That's the Clovis by TriplePoint Outdoors. Full disclosure, I went to high school with the owner. Haven't seen him in person in probably 20 years. I don't know if that influences this review at all, but what it did make me is an early adopter. Since I saw him post on Facebook that he was coming out with this. Design for it, looked spot on. Ended up buying it. I think I was order number 4. I try to get the new good stuff that's out there, and honestly, I don't care if I had never met this person before. I would still recommend this Broadhead. This thing is absolutely amazing. For context, I put this this specific Broadhead. This went through a 10-point buck last week on Thursday. I'm taking this on a Tuesday. The only thing I did with this Broadhead is the arrow was shattered. I picked it up off the ground, brought it in, washed off the meat, washed off the dirt, washed off the blood, and the truth of the matter is the sucker is ready to go right back down range again. Blades are in really great shape. Tip looks completely untouched. Mechanical mechanism is fantastic. If I'm not careful with it, I'm going to end up cutting myself. These blades are still crazy super sharp. This is phenomenal for a couple of reasons. I think one of the things that makes this Broadhead really, really durable, and is perhaps not marketed enough, is it protects itself. Your Broadhead's most important part are its sharp edges. And this Broadhead protects its own sharp edges. And that was one of my issues with some of the other ones. So, for example, if I pull out one of these Broadheads that I've used before, this Broadhead's also gone through a deer. Obviously it did its job, but if you look right there, and if you look right there, these blades are bent. I'm cheap. I resharpen them and put new blades on because I really don't, I don't put new blades on. I reuse the other ones because I really just don't want to have to incur that expense time over time. But once these blades are deployed, their default position is going to be back. And so when they hit something, they have one option. They can cut through it. If they don't cut through it, they're going to bend trying. And that's exactly what these blades did. I don't know very many deer that have rib cage that's more than 2.5 inches of separation between ribs. And so the only option this had was to basically cut through the bone. With the Clovis, you don't have that. Their default position is back, similar, but they're held there by a rare earth magnet, and the blades are actually held to the ferrule by this screw right here. And so that rare earth neodymium magnet holds them back, and so as a result, they can pivot around. And so I saw that when I looked at the carcass of my buck, is the reason these blades are so sharp is when it entered, the blades pivoted the side where it hit the rib, ended up closing. It only takes about, I think it's 3 pounds of pressure to reopen it. So as soon as it cleared the ribs, this broadhead opened up to its full cutting and went through double lungs. When it hit the other side, blade closed up, exited the rib cage. Broadhead's just in beautiful shape. So you can see the cutting edge on this blade. There's just absolutely no issues with it whatsoever. Similar to the other side, and same with the tip. So super strong, thick blades, really easy to deal with. They're going to protect themselves. It's worth noting this isn't even the Clovis you can buy today. This was the original production run, which was done with I think they're called Loctite blades, which I'll talk about in a little bit. But the blades they come with now look like this. So they're a solid blade. So obviously the development, even those things have been out for less than a year, development kind of continues on. I love it for some other reasons. So back when I was using those guys, I can't practice with those because every time I practice with it, I have to buy a new collar. And if something goes to the target, every time I practice with it, I have to replace blades. And so what's frustrating about these guys is you have to turn around and buy those also. And you can see those have been downrange quite a bit because these guys do not fly like a field point. They have their own little special way of doing it, and if you don't practice with them, you don't know how they're going to fly when you have a true broadhead on. The cool thing about the Clovis is when those blades are closed and they're held back by the magnet, you have very little cross-sectional area to actually affect your aim. I found that I can practice with them, and I certainly do, but the biggest thing that I found that's going to give me the best practice is I can actually just shoot field tips, and the field tips and the broadheads fly exactly the same. So that's another really major plus. The really other cool thing about the Clovis is it's modular. So TriplePoint has designed this aluminum ferrule. It has the rare earth magnet back here, which is what's going to hold your blades in place. You can put on whatever blade you like. So I guess these are now called, the Loctite blades are now called, they're practice blades. And so they would fit on as such. And then you would place them through the ferrule, and they're held in by one of these screws. You can pick the blade of your choice. So this has the traditional Clovis head, which is 2 single sharpened edges that are on the same side, which is going to give you a really good cutting edge and good penetration. They offer what they call their helicut, which has 2 opposing single edge cutting, and so it causes, and these line up with the single edge on the blades, and it causes it to twist as it goes in, hence the name. And if you prefer small game or turkey hunting, they have their turkey foot head, which is not sharpened at all, other than the points you can see. So the idea is it will hit like a truck and then stop. They did just recently come out with a different set of blades you can put on there, so you can transform your mechanical broadhead into a fixed broadhead. So I look forward to checking those out. It's going to just make it hit like an absolute tank. I went with the 125 grain option because I shoot a 567 grain arrow, which is, I like my arrows a little bit slow with a little bit more mass. That said, you want a faster arrow, no problem. You just take off the tungsten additional weight that comes with it, and you have just a standard 100 grain broadhead. So you want an arrow that shoots super fast, you got it. You want an arrow that hits like a truck, you got it. It's a broadhead that's gonna protect itself. The other thing that I love about it is, I told you before, ones I use on crossbows, others I use on my compound bow. What I really love about this is I have a Clovis on my crossbow bolts. I have Clovises on my compound arrows. Doesn't matter. Any arrow, any speed. And the reason behind that is because again, the default position for these blades is back. Anything happens, the mass is going to pull them back through just inertia. The magnet at the back is just going to secure them. It's honestly the simplest, most intelligent design I've ever seen. I'm smacking myself that I didn't think of it first because it's really that good of an idea. Keep it simple, silly. As far as I'm concerned, last broadhead I'm ever going to buy. Best broadhead on the market. Thanks.